Hello everyone. Today I will be telling you a story about a guy who wakes up in a coffin with a girl. Enjoy the story. So the girl, Amy, is 25 years old. She was in a horrible relationship with a jerk who always called her rude names and disrespected her. She decided to break up with him, so she went to his apartment on the 54th floor of a building in New York City. When she arrived at his place, she told him she couldn't date a dickhead like him and it was over for them. He was an alcoholic and was very drunk at the time, which does not go well with anger. He grabbed her and threw her out the window. The window shattered as she got thrown into it and she fell out of the building 54 floors down. Luckily, she landed in water and was okay. She was about to swim to shore when she noticed that the evil boyfriend's couch was coming straight towards her. He must have thrown it out the window and aimed for her. She tried to swim away as quickly as possible, but she wasn't fast enough because the couch landed right on top of her head and she died. Her body was recovered by the police a few days later when people noticed that she was missing. At the funeral, they fixed her body so she looked normal, so it was an open casket funeral. The people were sad. Luckily, the evil boyfriend got arrested. When he was arrested, the cops told him to treat others the way he would want to be treated, and one of the cops was so mad that he threw the evil boyfriend out the same window. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't lucky enough to land in the water and he got impaled by a sharp tree. He may have been able to grab onto something and survive if he hadn't been handcuffed. The cop who killed him wasn't punished though, because the evil boyfriend deserved to die. Meanwhile, somewhere else in New York City, a boy, who is 16 years old named Sean, was just going about his day. He was in school in history class, bored as hell, when a school shooter came in. The teacher managed to lock the door, but the shooter threw a grenade in the classroom before the door was fully closed. Sean, a real hero, jumped on the grenade and saved everyone else. Unfortunately though, his organs splattered everywhere. Then, Sean woke up. At first he thought it was all just a bad dream, but then he realized that he was in a coffin. He panicked but then realized he wasn't alone. Amy was there too, sleeping. Sean screamed because he was confused and scared, and Amy woke up. Amy then asked what was going on and Sean said he didn't know. They both told each other their stories and how they died, and it didn't take them long to figure out what happened. Then, they exchanged names and caught up on each other's lives. First, they tried to get out but they were buried so far underground it was hopeless. Then, Sean realized that if he had a phone he could call 911. Unfortunately, they didn't have their phones with them. In fact, they weren't even wearing any clothes. Sean said to Amy that since they are alone and naked anyway, they should have some fun. Amy said what the hell, and they went at it. A few months went by of them being trapped down there and they realized that they didn't need to eat, drink, poop, pee, or sleep. But they could still sleep if they wanted to. Amy couldn't get pregnant either. Every day, they tried to get out but they couldn't. They also talked to each other and had sex all the time. If they weren't doing any of that, they were sleeping together. Since it was kind of cold in the coffin, they huddled together for body heat. Sean told Amy that this must be heaven because he loved her. Amy agreed with Sean and said she loved him too. But they both agreed that they still wanted to escape. A few more days went by and one day, people came to visit Amy's grave, which is the grave they were in. Amy and Sean could hear people crying and they realized that if they could hear them, then they could probably call for help and people could hear. As loud as they could, Amy and Sean called for help. It worked. The people grieving heard and called the cops to investigate. The cops came and dug up the grave and discovered that Amy was shockingly alive. They were also very surprised to see another person in there. Amy and Sean told the cops the whole story. Also, Amy and Sean noticed that they appeared to be the same age now. They both got DNA tested and the results said that they were both 22 years old. They celebrated and kept dating. Eventually, they got married and had kids. The end.